This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Wednesday, July 16th of 2025, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I talked with the state climatologist for Iowa, Dr. Justin Glisan, about the rains we've seen recently, as well as what the future forecast holds. Also have a check of the markets with Cory Bratland of agmarket.net. First, here's my conversation with Dr. Justin Glisan. Justin, first off, we've had a lot of rain recently. How is that weighing in with what we would expect to see and what we need at this time of year?
Yes. Hey, Riley. Nice to be back with you. So you look at July, the last 10-year trend has actually seen a dip in the amount of rainfall that we expect. Well, this July, we've been wet. And through the first half, you look at stations across the state, some of them approaching their July totals climatologically. So a very wet and active pattern. Not a lot of severe weather. Now we've had a few tornadoes and some hail and high wind events, but overall the moisture that we've been getting, talking with farmers and producers, some of them would like a break in the action to dry out a bit. We've seen a replenishment of soil profiles, reinvigoration of soil profiles. Stream flows are up, and this I think will be reflected in the drought monitor depiction that will be released this week. Overall improvement, and we've seen improvement in the drought monitor over the last several weeks as well, given how active the pattern has been. June was about 3/4 of an inch above average statewide. So for the wettest month of the year, which is June, being above average tells you how wet we've been here in Iowa.
And then you mentioned with some farmers saying that there could be maybe a little bit more space in between the rains. Do we have any reports yet of water damage to crops, or is that just kind of a situation where we don't want to see it get to that point?
Broadly, we don't want to see it get to that point, but if you're under one of these thunderstorms that we've had recently, last week on Friday in particular, slower moving thunderstorms with no steering flow, if you get stuck under one of those, of course, you're going to have a lot of standing water in your fields, given soil profiles, particularly in the shallow part of it, are saturated. So again, this has been reflected in stream flows, elevated river and stream levels. But yes, broad scale, we haven't seen a lot of standing water in fields, a lot of damage. So it's been pockets here and there, which is much better than widespread flooding, given the amount of moisture on the landscape and the soil moisture.
And then when we look at this time of year, you look in the cornfields and see a lot of tassels up right now. Pollination is really in full force. When it comes to the moisture that we see at this time of year, as well as the temperatures, what exactly do we want to see for the weather, and how is the weather we've seen so far stacking up to make those crops as healthy as they can be?
Yep, a question I get often asked. We don't want to be hot and dry. And we've been on the flip side of that. We've been very wet, as we just discussed. Temperatures have been moderate. We've had some days in which we've been up in the 80s and 90s. We've had some temperatures below average slightly. Our overnight lows have definitely been above average. Higher dew points, mugginess in the air, heavy dews in the morning, which is also a reflection of those higher dew points. The higher the dew point, the warmer those overnight temperatures can get or can stay. So broadly, if we look at the weather patterns during pollination and tasseling, we're kind of in an ideal situation here. Maybe slightly wet, but overall, I think we're looking very good.
Then I know in the upcoming forecast as well, a little bit of heat returning to the state. In general, is that looking to be like a kind of an excessive amount of heat? I know we had some really hot periods kind of in the spring. Or are we just kind of returning to what we would expect to see in late July, early August?
Yeah, so you look through the first half of the month, we're only about 0.8 of a degree above average, so we're right where we should be. With this heat wave that's building in next week, a heat dome, higher probabilities of warmer than average temperatures across much of the United States, centered on the lower Midwest. Think of Missouri into Illinois. So yes, higher probabilities of warmer temperatures, but not exceedingly warm. Now, on the flip side of that, with all the moisture availability with these higher dew points, we could see oppressive heat index values for a few days. And of course, this affects livestock, but also humans that have to work outside. But seasonally, we haven't really seen an extended heat wave, and the expectation for next week is it's not going to be exceedingly hot.
And with that heat dome, I know a lot of people talk about that in terms of like a big city. People talk about Omaha, the Oma Dome. Des Moines has kind of a heat dome going on as well. Is this one of those situations where it might kind of cause any moisture or rain to go around that dome, or are we looking at maybe a bit broader of a scale there?
Yes, that's a great observation, Riley. So we call this the ring of fire configuration, in which you have a heat dome that forms, and then you get ridge riders or weather disturbances that move over the ridge. And this can bring above average rainfall to where that jet stream or where that pattern is locked in. You can also get some squall line development, but overall, yes, you can get above average rainfall when this type of setup occurs.
Right, Justin, lots of great information today for anyone who would like to get in touch with the Iowa Climatology Bureau and also potentially submit a ground conditions report. How can they do that?
Yes, my direct line is 515-281-8981, or Google Iowa Climatology Bureau. It'll give you my contact information. And the website has all those good things that we like to see, seasonal outlooks, soil moisture, temperatures, recent precipitation patterns, historic monthly reports, any kind of information you need. If you can't find it, I have it somewhere. Just give me a call or shoot me an email.
All right, Justin, thanks again for your time as always, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Riley.
That again was the state climatologist for Iowa, Dr. Justin Glisan. We'll take a look at the closing markets next, but first, here's a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. It's time now to take a look at the closing markets with Cory Bratland of agmarket.net. First off, Cory, what do we see going on in the grain markets today?
Hey, Riley, good to be with you again. Grain markets stronger again here today. Corn end of the day around this 4.5 to 5 higher. What we're seeing on the corn side of things is there's a little concern out there regarding some pollination. Now, from what I can see of it or hear of it, it sounds like it's kind of more of a variety specific, maybe in a few small areas, but until we get the pollination completed, which, part of the country is going through pollination right now, other parts next couple of weeks. So we still got a little bit of time yet, but regardless, the corn is up 4.5, 5 cents. Soybeans, end of the day, around 17, 18 cents higher. Very strong here on the soybeans. What we're seeing there is we're seeing some model runs, some weather forecasts, kind of trying to put in some heat here coming into the heart of the Corn Belt, the Midwest here anyways, I should say, in late next week. So it's going to get us in the last couple days of July into August. And when we look at the balance sheets, Riley, soybeans have very little room to spare as far as on the yield and total production.
And of course, with that, especially the potential for pollination issues, I think even if it's a small rumor, the markets want to trade on some news so badly that it might just kind of get factored in already, right?
Yeah, we are. I mean, we got to think that a lot of the private analysts are coming out and they're giving us some pretty high corn yields, and I can't disagree. We've got the corn crops rated 74, 75% good to excellent, rated very high for this time of year. And when you look at the weather forecast, boy, we still have got a pretty good looking forecast for these next 7 days or so. With that, you got to think that we have priced in a lower yield. And last year we were rated pretty high, had these higher yield expectations, and then we come to this time of year, we ran out of gas a little bit on it, and we had decent pollination, but corn yield kind of come down at the end of the year, so there's a little bit of fear in that. And a year ago about this time, this is when the funds kind of stopped selling too, and they started buying. So not sure if it's a repeat, but we're definitely see the funds buying back some of their positions. And like I said, we have priced in a lot of negativity already on these grain prices.
Then over on the livestock side of things, how did cattle and hogs trade today?
Real good. Cattle, they made some new all-time highs here. August cattle up to 224 and a half or so, but a new all-time high trade and an all-time high close on them. So they end up around at $1.40, $1.50 higher. So I did hear, though, the product was a little weaker here with Choice and Select down from yesterday, so that might weaken our market here a little bit later on this week, but cash was sure stronger yesterday. Hogs on the flip side were strong again today. They've had a pretty good about $11, $12 sell-off. We're starting to see them maybe start to find a little bit of stabilization, but it seems like we get that hog price up a little bit too high. We start talking, $1.10 plus. We start to kind of curb that demand. Unlike beef, beef, the demand is still pretty darn strong, but it definitely is overbought in here and probably ready to see a little bit of a correction.
All right, Cory, lots of great information today. For anyone who would like to get more marketing information, how can they do that?
Yeah, just the easiest way, head on over to our website, which is eggmarket.net, and you can get a hold of us right there.
Thanks again for the time, as always, Cory, and we look forward to talking again soon.
All right, thanks, Riley.
Okay, we'll see how this... That again was Cory Bratland of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how the numbers closed through the market window at iowaagnet.com. September corn up 4 even at 405 and a quarter. August soybeans up 18 and a half at 1013 and a half. August soybean meal up 310 at 268.40. Soybean oil up 26 cents at 54.82. Chicago wheat up 3 and a quarter at 541 and a quarter. Kansas City hard red wheat down 1 even at 522 and 3/4. Spring wheat down 1 even as well at 580 even. September oats up 6 and a quarter at 372 and a quarter. On the Merc, August live cattle up $1.50 at 223.90. August feeders up 330 at 325.57. August lean hogs up 50 cents at 104.42. Pork cutout went unchanged at 110.52. And August class 3 milk up 32 cents at 17.54. That's been a check of the markets, and that also brings us to the end of today's episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM/PM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Check out as well our free morning, midday, and closing market podcasts, as well as the Iowa Ag Matters podcast and Pod's Potential. Find those on your favorite podcasting services at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and Podbean, as well as on our website, once again, at iowaagnet.com under the podcast tab. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson, Ashton Jolly, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.